Hey there, Oxfam Action Corps members. This is Brian, and I'm talking to you from my house in Richmond, California. That's an Aunt Norma Werner original watercolor behind me. And I've been thinking a lot about you lately as we plan for our celebration to come together after 9 years and celebrate all the work that we've done together before the program comes to an end on June 1st. But I've also been thinking about the conversations that you've been having and I've had with some of you about what's next after the Oxfam Action Corps. And I think there are lots of ideas. And maybe it's a little bit hard to focus and figure out the way through. So I just thought I would present some ideas to you in 3 minutes or less, starting in just a second. Instead of doing a boring old PowerPoint, I decided I would try my hand at sketching it out on a little pad. Maybe it's interesting on video. Let's give it a shot. Okay, here we go. So, you're wondering what to do beyond the Oxfam Action Corps. I'm here to help. Well, when we all learned that the Oxfam Action Corps was coming to an end, I think we all felt very sad, as do many of our members who are learning about this now, who've been involved over the last years. And then for some of us, we also got mad because it seems like this is a really great thing. And why should it come to an end? You know, we've put our hearts and soul into this. But we've also then thought about the fact that, this is a great community of people. We've been accomplishing wonderful things and really demonstrated people power on some important issues of our day. So maybe we can continue. Maybe there is life after the Oxfam Action Corps, some kind of joint undertaking. But that's a lot to consider, and all kinds of questions arise. What possibly could happen next? And there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of ideas being circulated. How do we focus? How do we move forward? There we go, lots of ideas, and of course time is elusive, and it feels like time is of the essence, and it can be a little bit panic-inducing to feel like we're supposed to make something happen before momentum peters out. So, here's what I'm proposing to you, that take a deep breath and don't panic. Let's focus on this in 3 stages. The first one being the immediate transition, the second one being idea generation for what comes next, and the third one being organizational building. And to get a look at the timeline, hang on a sec. It doesn't all need to happen at once. The transitional part is due soon. June 1st is when the Oxfam Action Corps comes to an end. So there's some practical nuts and bolts we need to figure out before that. And then the idea generation for what we do next, I would propose can occur through, say, July 1st. And then actually deciding how to move forward in building some kind of organizational entity is a longer proposition. Let's give ourselves until, say, 2017. Okay, so I'm going to take this one by one, starting with the first of the 3 phases, transition. We're asking, well, what now for the Action Corps? This is a question you're asking in your city. You're wondering what kind of activities you want to continue with. Maybe it's concert outreach or events or petitioning or lobbying. You're wondering which people are still going to be involved, and your leaders. Do your current leaders actually have the capacity to continue? These are all important questions. And we know some leaders can't stay on much longer. This also relates to continuing with Oxfam activities. Bob Ferguson is still offering lots of cool concert outreach opportunities. Oxfam's got really interesting campaigns and events and things going now, as it always has. So there's an opportunity to continue really very much as you have in the past, according to your availability and your interest, to continue to support Oxfam. But in order to deal with the transition by June 1st, there's a few things that are very practical that cities need, such as a new mail list for when we retire the constant contact. Also, you have Facebook pages and so on that are branded Oxfam Action Corps, and that branding, that name is going to be retired. So what next? And there are leaders. Are they staying on or are they not? Do you have leaders in your city or not? I can already see I'm going way over 3 minutes, so but still relatively quick, shorter than a sitcom. So here's what I'm suggesting is needed during the transition in order for us to stay connected. I think we do need to decide whether we want to have some kind of shared name or identity, but we don't need to freak out. It can be an interim one. So for example, we could just decide that on the interim, we're going to be called Action Core. And we'll decide whether that's something that we want to do together or whether certain cities or, just want to name themselves their own thing. For example, New Yorkers for Oxfam, hypothetically. Madison has created the Global Health Community of Madison. So it's possible that there be some different names. It's important to have space to connect and to share ideas. Fundamentally, this is a community of people, and we just need to make sure we have a space in which we can come together and discuss things as a community. And I'm not sure what that looks like, but it's needed. Also, for those cities where leaders will no longer be available, but where volunteers have had some interest and there may be people who want to stay involved, we should have a way for volunteers to connect directly, to be able to say, I'm in, and connect to the platform so they're not requiring an intermediary of the leaders. But I don't know what platform would be suitable for that. I've proposed, based on people I've heard speaking up and chiming in on emails, a few people that could help as helpers or experts, such as Liz Tillman, Brittany Wilson, and Vivian Daly. But I'm sure there are others, and we need volunteers to step up. And I think this could be like a task force that hammers out some of the practical matters so we can transition by June 1st. Also, by June 1st is our party. And this is an important thing, not just to get together and celebrate all that we've done, but to celebrate what we stand for. And to reach out to all of our prior members and really call the community together. I'd like to create a video tribute project where everybody can submit a video of what this has meant to you. And together it'll give us a sense of who we are. And we'll have other things like photos and artifacts. And of course, we want to have a short program with some speakers from our Action Corps members. So I need some helpers with that project as well. And I'm proposing Kathy Chavez, Sarah Lucy, Sapana Thomas, as well as help from some staff in Boston or other areas of the country like Adam Olson, Jewel Meyer. And of course, there's lots of room for others to get involved with planning the party and the brunch that happens afterwards. Okay. So by June 1st, if we do our transition right, by June 1st, we're communicating with each other. We have an interim shared name. All of our members have been tuned in to what's happening, or possibly more. We might want to ask people to commit to walking with us on the next part of this journey, kind of our core idea or proposition of what we're doing. We also would have a sense of who we are by the party and the video, really kind of reminding ourselves who we are. Okay, so how do we plan this transitional stuff? I suggest that we have our regular Tuesday Cyberside chat time, May 17, and that those of you who are willing to help also set up calls with me, and we can work it out. There's also a planning call that Megan, Nakra, and Nathan have been calling on May 15. That's going to come up in the next segment. But if you want to, that call could also be used to work out some of this transition stuff. So, again, we've just talked about the transition by June 1st. Next, I want to talk briefly about idea generation, which is what next for us after June 1st? Do we go together? Do we go forward together? And then after that, organizational building. Idea generation, what is this about? We need to know, this is talking about, well, what are the possibilities for us going forward? Who are we? What do we bring to the table? Which cause can we take on? Which injustice can we fight? What are our unique skills and strengths and expertise? What do we bring to the table? It's all that kind of stuff. So the first question is, who is interested in discussing this? Can we get a commitment of those who actually want to participate? Next, are you excited about the possibility and brainstorming? Then maybe we have until, say, July 1st to sort this out. I'm just throwing that date out there. As the idea generation group, you'd be involved with assessing who are our people and what's our people power. What is our unique contribution to the cause? What is our cause? Is it right to food? Is it resilience in the face of climate change and resource scarcity? What are our resources? I think we do have many resources. I think that over time, Action Corps has developed leadership capacity, expertise on issues like food security and global development and climate resilience, many skills, how to throw major events, how to lobby Congress, and also a culture, an organizational culture. Many of your cities have developed a rhythm and a pattern and a means of governing and structuring your activities and planning. That's all really huge. The idea generation group would consult different models, outside experts, inquire with our members and survey and focus group or whatever to get feedback on our members' opinions. And it would be an exciting look at the vision, the people, the purpose, ideas, really just exploring, analyzing, looking at the data, looking at past research and consulting that I've done with our members. I am happy to participate in this process as well, this dialogue, give advice, and you come up with proposals and ultimately a decision and a plan. Again, the idea being maybe by July 1st. And I do have some ideas myself. I've been talking with various people for proposals, and we can get into that later. I won't get into that now, but at the minimum, I think you have a potential really cool network of leaders to stay in touch on these issues and to share ideas. Going beyond that, I think you can create you have capacity to mobilize on the ground in various communities in the United States. I think you can kind of own that capacity and offer to boost campaigns by Oxfam and campaigns by other organizations too. And then ultimately, I think going even bigger, you could become effectively a campaigning organization of your own, focus on something like the right to food. What does it look like in our communities here, in our cities, in our country, and in the world, for the world to honor and manifest the right to food, which is enshrined in the economic, social, cultural, human rights. Anyways, there are some ideas, but you would come up with some proposals. And based on who I've heard speaking up and getting involved in the conversation, possible helpers are Megan, who's convening calls with the help of Nathan, but also Jennifer Vive Horsford, Isaac Evans France, they're both in New York, Stephen Lauer, who's been a member in Iowa for some time, Sapana, Adam Olson on staff, and of course others. This isn't an exclusive list, and I'm sure I've overlooked some people, but these are some of the folks I've been talking with about the ideas for going forward. So, that's kind of cool and exciting and fun. As for the planning, discussing what comes next, there is the phone call I mentioned. It was originally scheduled for Thursday, but it's now Sunday, May 12th, a phone call. And also Saturday, May 28th, we have a brunch meeting planned in Boston the day after our celebration to take up this topic and move forward. So we've talked about the immediate practical transition, idea generation for what comes next. And only after that, I think we need to get into organizational building. We don't need to do this kind of stuff right away. I think on our last phone call, there were a lot of questions and some of the details coming up about what would an organization look like? How would we measure our impact? What would our metrics be? What kind of leadership roles and structure and governance would we have? And that's a lot to take on right now. I think we can plan to do that down the road. So when we get to that point for organizational building, we do need to have a final decision on what our name and our brand will be, and have a business model for how we can succeed and sustain our effort over time and build an organization. Of course, our mission is going to be of utmost importance. Do we have staff? Or how are volunteers? How are we people driven? What's our governance and structure, our decision-making process? What are the leadership roles available? Who are our advisors or our board of directors or advisors? How do we set up a 501c3? Where does our funding come from? All of these things are to be explored. And I'm not saying that we have to wait and we can't ask these questions now, but I'm suggesting that we shouldn't lose sight of the other priorities by getting caught up in some of these larger questions, because I do think we have a bit of time to sort this out. So once again, that's it. I'm recapping by saying we have our practical transition until June 1st to tackle, including the party and our communications list and so forth. And then for those who want to just continue doing Oxfam stuff, concerts, hunger banquets, whatever it is you've been doing with Oxfam, you can just continue along this level, just basically doing that. Being volunteers for Oxfam. But for those who want to do more, we cross down here to idea generation, coming up with what's next for the group, and then organizational building. And by working together, I truly believe we will be able to unfurl the We're Awesome banner and be able to celebrate and stand together as a powerful force for making the world a better place, where there is a future in which all people have enough to eat always, where we are standing for justice here in our own neighborhoods as well as the world, where we're linking together with those who are most marginalized in the world, those who are most vulnerable, to empower local actors to respond to disasters, basically to make sure that there's home security, food security, land security for all people everywhere. So thanks everyone for listening. That is my presentation. Way more than 3 minutes, but under 20. So I'm going to leave it there. Feel free to hit me up with questions, and I look forward to talking with you on the call May 15. That's this Sunday. And again on our Cyberside chat call May 17. Thanks. Bye-bye.